What up, Kev?
Our hairlines are synced up.
Hey, man, like as soon as I get on camera, I'm like, okay, what? Like I'll be looking down inside, like, is that my forehead that big? I never knew it was that big. I knew it was big, but damn. What's good, man?
Oh, chilling. It's getting warm.
Well, it is starting to heat up. What was it out there with y'all today? It's reached 92 out here. So out there, it's probably what? 2 or 3 degrees hotter?
I actually don't think it was that. Was it? I feel like we were in the high 80s. It wasn't crazy, but it's
not today.
Yeah.
But over the last couple of weeks, it's been. Yeah. Today, I think we were in the 80s, but yesterday, I think it touched 90, 92. But
I'm chilled out, man. My week of solo daddy mode has finally come to a close.
It has. Wifey has returned, huh?
She returned, yeah. When we were recording last week, young Sakota was just down at the track. I went and picked her up after we finished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Word. Putting some money on the ponies. She's into that.
That's ridiculous. Incredibly ridiculous. Yeah, I know it's funny, man. When my wife is like, we'll call, and she'll ask how the kids, and I'm like, one of them is selling dope now, the other one is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, how you think they are? They just sitting there chilling. Like, there's nothing else they gonna do. You know what I'm saying?
Are you able to make Sarai do stuff now? So you can avoid certain things?
On the night the night that you came out for my birthday, that was her first night babysitting. So that was one thing.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
Yeah. And, but now, I've always hated doing the dishes. So she's been doing the dishes since she could move her hands. Oh. Besides that,
Children are a blessing.
Yeah. With regards to that, yes. Yeah, I don't know how many parents go through this. My wife is notorious for being, delayed responses when I text or call. So now I just call my daughter, like, where's your mom? She's like, she's right here. I give her the phone.
Nice.
Nice. So that's probably the biggest burden she has to deal with. Is, me speaking to her mom through her if I need something immediate,
She's like a concierge for wifey.
Yeah.
That's good.
Basically. Hold on, Dad. Like it's all. No, she never does that, but she knows in the first couple sentences I'm not calling to talk to her. So there's that too.
My kid learned how to roll her eyes at some point.
I don't know. Wow, she's late in the game, huh?
Well, yeah, she's going to have to snap out of that for about at least 8 more years.
Oh, good luck. Good luck. You know what? It may not happen in front of you as much. It depends upon how you spaz about it, but it's going to happen. So,
man, I'm like, do you need glasses? What happened? Something is wrong with your face.
Hey, man. You know the old saying, man, sometimes chicken, sometimes feathers, bro. Sometimes it's all good and sometimes it ain't, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's cool, man. Wife is back to the crib. Basketball is back. I watched Summer League, watched the Lakers get beat by 20.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's cool. It was a good nice little day. I decided to get up and go to the gym. Now, there's 2 things that I want to run by you. So
okay.
This isn't technically the open question. It will lead to. When's the last time you've been to the gym?
Long time. It's been
a long time. Okay.
Yeah. I've been just running, and then I jump rope and do a little light calisthenics here at the crib. I wouldn't have gone to the gym during the pandemic anyway, but Yeah.
I went towards the tail end. I was definitely there in the beginning. That was when I was there Yeah, before I got hurt. So anyway, do you remember any particular gym annoyances from when you went years ago?
Always.
Like can you name one?
Aside from Timberlands?
All right, there you go.
Let's see. I mean, you know what? I don't know. I mean, for some reason, the last gym that I went to, it was super nice too. We had like a deal through my job that it was like the New York Racket Club or something like that, which it's an expensive gym, but we had a deal that we somehow came up on, and I would go there and there'd be nobody there. So I'd have the whole place to myself and I could do, so that was no big deal. In a situation like that, it's always annoying when like there's millions of treadmills and machines and all that stuff, and some dude comes in and wants to sit right next to me. I'm like, I don't need that. I don't want that. Spread out. Just
All right.
Social distancing. I'm down. I've been down for social distancing. That's why I made it through the pandemic alive.
So yeah, without even any issue, you hit the nail on the head. There's two things in the gym that we got to stop doing. All right. One is unavoidable depending upon how crowded the gym is, but if the gym is not crowded and I'm using any piece of equipment that there's, like I'm using one of the, weight benches or whatever, right? Like, come on, man, just spread out, like one bench in between. Like, why are we like workout buddies? Like get away from me. You know what I mean? I don't. It's like why do we need to do this? Like if I get some free weights and I'm doing my little exercise or whatever, I'm curling or whatever I'm doing, like I'm gonna move over some space or whatever. I don't particularly need to look in the mirror, but there's mirrors everywhere you are, so everywhere you turn. So I'm not gonna face the opposite way or what. I'm just gonna move out of your way and give you some space, right?
Yeah.
Man, today I'm working out or whatever, and I mean, dude stood next to me like we was together. Like I was like, "Yo, what are you like? What you trying to do right now?"
Like he was spotting you.
Yeah, like he was right. Like I'm like you gonna lift my elbows up right now? Like get away from me. Related to basketball, because I'm going to the gym now. I just have to now repeat analysis on wrestling. I was pretty good at basketball. I'm not anymore. Absolutely not. I am the sorry dude at the gym, unapologetically, by the way. Unapologetically, right? But I also have a problem with people that are not good, that are trying to win the championship every time we play.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm like, look, dude.
Yeah.
Me and you was on the same level right now. Like, you're not that good. I'm not that good. Just calm down, brother. Settle down.
Right.
They call it touch files. I had somebody call it yesterday. Somebody called charging. It's like charging. It's like what? Oh man, he was on my team too, so I had to just walk like away and like because I wasn't gonna, But anyway, those are the
that's
two
the
things.
thing that I think a lot of dudes don't understand is that at our age, it becomes real evident when you've watched more of the sport than you've played it. Even, to everybody. Everybody knows you're making a fool of yourself. It's like,
It's like, yo, when he called charging, like, I was like, okay. And he legit let them, or they let him argue enough to give him the ball for it. If I was on the opposite, no way in hell. I would have held that ball and just stood under the basket like, dude, nobody's going to play until we stop this. This shit is never happening. Like, no way. I don't care how sorry I am out here. I don't care how old I am. I'll throw this ball right over to the weight benches before I allow charging in a damn pickup game. Like, no way in hell. That was wild.
Calling 3-second fouls and stuff?
Yeah, like, what are we doing right now? He'd say, that fool fell on the ground and said, charging. I was like, what? Oh, that was wild. Yo, I did. Me and Suge, man, we rolled out to Real Ones in Long Beach. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Icy Ice. Oh man, what's dude's name? Icy Ice, of course. Propaganda, Curse. I think it's Prospect. DJ Prospect, I think. Am I tripping, man? I don't want to ruin this dude's name. I'm gonna look it up to make sure I say it right. But they have a daytime joint once a month in Long Beach.
Oh.
That joint is fire. At Gray, it's at Gray in Long Beach, off of Long Beach Boulevard, I believe in 4th. I might be bugging on the area, but it's in that area where Federal Bar used to be, one street over.
Okay.
If you have a chance, it's once a month for every first Sunday of the month. If you have a chance to go to that joint, please go. Please go. I'm talking to you personally and the audience. It is really dope. If you're coming out to LA for the summertime, make your way down to Long Beach. I'm not saying that because I know these dudes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that was really, really, really dope. Like, real dope. Dope to where people were dancing to Biddies in the BK Lounge.
Nice.
That's how dope it was. So, yeah, make your way to Gray. And if you are, just on some promo, if you are in the area on Saturday, Snapback in Fullerton, downtown Fullerton, at Bourbon Street, go to Snapback_live at Instagram to check that out. It's going to be a real fun night coming up. I think we got Ice and Remark and Everready, or, some combination of DJs that you go and enjoy. Oh, Bobito the chef is going to be there as well. So it'll be nice. I'm with your fam. You know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Dope.
It's a word. It was dope, man. All right, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. So, you ready to get to the other side?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Let's go.
Rap Sucks Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
What up, y'all? You were live on Rap Sucks Radio with your homeboy Track Life and your fam, Kev Sakota.
This entire podcast is merit-based.
I am about to quit. This is the last show for me. All right, let's thank y'all for tuning in, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. If you'd like to catch past episodes of Rap Sucks Radio, you can go to rapsucksradio.com and any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also check us out on your television on BTSN. That is Behind the Scenes Network. What you do is you download the app or channel on your Roku or any of your Amazon Fire devices. We are right there with plenty of other dope content. BTS and Behind the Scenes Network. We want in. And you can catch us Rap Sucks Radio on Instagram, RSR Podcast on Facebook. That's where you check us out. All right.
Boom.
It might be Promote. DJ Promote. I'm tripping. I'm super tripping. I genuinely apologize if he checks this show out. I'm sorry. All right. Title of this episode is The Supreme Court Don't Love You Like We Do.
That's right.
Intro talk. Supreme Court out here tripping. Let's get to the intro talk. Kev, I'll let you introduce which one we're going to start with of the two items we discussed pre-show. So, Supreme Court is bugging. The Supreme Court has had its the Supreme Court has been bugging, and I have my opinions on that. But Kev, go ahead and set it off.
1/3 of the Supreme Court is very chill. They're like three little Fonzies just laying in the cut. The other 6 are wild in the streets. Just like black-robed ninjas fighting for injustice in every corner.
For real.
They killed everybody's chances of going to college. Oh, and we didn't talk about this one. And if you happen to go to college, your loan is not going to get forgiven.
Yeah. They killed student debt forgiveness.
Yeah. But if you make crappy websites and you want to tell people that you don't want to make crappy websites for them, you're okay. You're going to be just fine. let's start with affirmative action.
Ooh, we're gonna start there, huh?
Since this is a topic that you and I have argued at length about back and forth.
An interesting topic for Asian and Black community, that's for sure.
That's right.
So, where do I start? I have so much to say that it's hard to figure out where to start with this. There were a lot of really, really, really brilliantly divisive elements in the Xing out of affirmative action. Not just recently, but in 1996 in California. I think one of the things that has been done over the years, and this is going to be really funny because if you guys talk to me enough, you guys will hear me say things like I've always said, right? Which usually means I've said the last 2 years. Let's just be fair, right? But in this case, man, when I was in high school, because of the racial demographic of my area, which was relatively racially diverse, fairly. Because just to be fair, for non-white people, we tend to say that the absence of white people makes a place diverse. And that's actually not entirely true. If the school is like 75% black, then it's still not technically diverse, right? But anyway, that wasn't the case in my school at all. So anyway, I had noticed a long time ago the clear divisive sort of model minority games that were being played just in my level of schooling, right? Being in honors classes, AP classes, college preparatory classes. Like I saw that divisive nature early on. I'm talking as early as freshman year. I saw exactly what was happening, right? Now this is the thing where it gets a little grimy. I noticed how and I don't want to use the words preferential treatment because that's unfair. People were earning their grades, earning their keep. It was in the conversation and the tone of conversation towards other students of color, right? Like it was just a weird they're with us and you're not type presentation that made it just a little strange, right? But I also was in high school in the mid and early 90s when we all still wasn't really cool. There wasn't any selection. Like there wasn't any you could kick it with us for all of us. So there still was some space for us to bond together. But I did notice these elements. And over the years, dating myself, I graduated from high school in 1994. In 1996, California got rid of affirmative action. And one of the large reasons they got rid of it was because it was allegedly unfair to the Asian community. Asian kids were being undermined. So let me delve into this just real quick, Kev. Stop me if it gets numbers boring. But one of the arguments was that a black student with less ability, less aptitude would take the space of an Asian student, which was unfair, right? So
that was the contention.
That was the contention. So then affirmative action is, abolished.
In the public schools, by the way, right?
In public schools,
public
UC system,
university,
public universities, yes. So the UC system reported almost immediately 40% drop in Black and Latino, right? Attendance, Black and Latino students at UC schools, to the point where UC Berkeley has been trying to figure this out, which, okay, right? UC Berkeley's been trying to figure this out, like since 1996, like, whoa, how do we, UCLA and UC Berkeley have been trying to figure this whole thing out, right? Meanwhile, there has been no significant increase in Asian enrollment. So it's not as though there was a 40% decrease and even like a 30 to 35% increase in Asian enrollment, right? Then that would be a realistic change. Like, okay, yeah, you got those black kids out of school and you were able to replace them with the Asian students that were being discriminated against. But that's actually not the case at all. All right, so now, there was no major significant increase at all for Asian enrollment. One thing I will note is since 1996, the black population in Los Angeles has dramatically decreased, by the way. Dramatically decreased. And I can't verify that it's tied to that, but I feel like it's strongly tied to that. There's a 5% wage decrease that happened since 1996 for black and Latino, employed people and folks that are employed. There was a lot that happened since 1996 that sort of changed the face of the education system, college education, public college education for black and Latino students. Now, what's dude's name? Edward Blum. I can't remember the dude's name, but it's a white male who initially filed a lawsuit on behalf of a white female student that said she was discriminated against due to affirmative action. He filed two. Both of them were basically kicked out of court. He then transitioned over in Texas to the Asian community and began this campaign saying that black students are taking your children's seat in college, right? He filed no lawsuits. There was no actual proof, none whatsoever, right? And what we did find out in all of this was there was one student that allegedly that didn't get into Harvard, and there was the idea that another black student got into Harvard and did not have the same credentials as this particular Asian student. I think his name was Jason Chen. He himself said, yo, that's not what I was trying to assert, by the way. He himself backed out of that. Anyway, here's what we do know. 43% of Harvard enrollment is legacy.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you when the change, because this is the thing I've had since 1996 to research this topic in earnest and do a deep dive. And I haven't done that. So we're just talking about this as a couple of meatheads. But with the decrease in the black population, you mentioned that specifically the decrease in the black student population at the UC schools or the California
black and
schools?
Latino.
Okay.
Schools,
So who has filled that void?
Well,
if not Asians, you said it wasn't Asians.
Statistically, white students.
Okay.
Statistically, white students have filled that role in larger number.
Do you know how many of those were white female students?
You know what? That's a good question. That I don't know.
Because that's a part of the conversation as well. Is that white women have benefited as much, if not more, than any other sort of historically disenfranchised
from
class.
Affirmative action.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. But okay. Go on.
So that I don't have the answer to. That's something I could definitely look into to have an answer to, but I don't. But on the Harvard case that Mr. Blum brought to light, what was discovered was that 43% of Harvard enrollment was legacy. Right. Another percentage were sports that are inaccessible to people, different, right? Sailing, things of that nature, right? If the argument is, and again, I'd like to be very clear on this, because what happens when you have these conversations or thoughts or opinions about other minorities, right? The idea is that you're hating or wishing less or whatever. I would never. My point has always been, do not allow them to divide us for crumbs.
Yeah.
Right? It's always been my point. If 43% is legacy students, how many black kids do you really think were taking your seats? Those seats were not being taken by black students or Latino students. Those seats were being taken by legacy students and students that could enroll them, that had the ability to enroll themselves or to perform in sports, participate in sports like sailing and blah, 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 blah. I feel like I'm boring the whole audience. But anyway, let me just cut to the chase here. This is in the wake of Florida banning certain history, but then promoting and supporting Asian American and Pacific Islander history. Now, look, again, I love it. I believe that there should be more promotion in March or year round, but particularly when the Asian American Pacific Islander History Month happens, there should be more promotion of it. But what I'm noticing is there's always an in spite of, and I believe that is deliberate. And I'm always saying, do not allow, I've said this to blacks and Latinos in Los Angeles, when there was an alleged jockeying for space, right? I've said this to several different communities. Do not allow them to divide us over the kibbles. Because with a 40% decrease in black and Latino enrollment, there was not a 40% increase in Asian enrollment. If that was the case, then there's a fair argument there, right? But that's not the case. So you're buying into, if you have some bullshit, and it's being used to undermine and undercut communities that have voiced strongly against, injustice, etc.
Right.
So my last point here is this. And I apologize for the link, y'all. Just like I said, I had a lot to say on this.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Chappelle had mentioned something I disagree with, and I've said I disagree with on this show, that women particularly should take your chips and get away from the table. At some point, they're going to respond, right? These white men, particularly in power, are going to respond very, very harshly to things like Me Too, right? Black Lives Matter. Since Black Lives Matter and Me Too have happened, Roe v. Wade has been challenged, right? We're slicing and dicing civil rights laws. We've now diced out affirmative action, right? There's been no real significant change in policing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've still had several police brutality cases. At the end of the day, and they voted in, with all due respect, probably the world's most idiotic leader we've ever seen in history when they voted Trump in. There was an immediate harsh response. You see what I'm saying? Do not let them continue to divide us, because what happens is a lot of people lose, and educated minorities have been a problem for them over the last, what would you say, maybe 10 years or so? Educated minorities have been longer than that. But I'm saying generally the biggest problem and the largest voices are coming from educated minorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem they're having. And I think that there's a lot of deliberate nature, but I'm out.
No, 100%. And that I have to believe is the fear. Now, listen, I went to a school, I went to a pretty good school, mm-hmm, with all kinds of different people. I don't know what the breakdown was of the student population. I didn't know it then. I certainly don't know it off the top of my head now, but it was a fairly diverse student population. I naturally gravitated to other people of color, to a certain degree, but there were people across the board, men, women, white, black, Latino, Asian, everybody, right? I can't think of a single person who was a complete bonehead. I can think of one kid who was going through, I think, some drug issues.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say anything more about him other than the fact that he is probably one of the richest people I've ever shaken hands with, just at that point in his life.
Right.
As long as he survived all the stuff that he was going through, he was going to go on to lead a financially comfortable life. Maybe not a happy life. But he was the closest person I could say to someone that might have been in trouble academically, because he was just having a hard time in life. Right. And I say that to say, even if it hurts to not get accepted to a school, if someone is trying to get you to fight against somebody else who's gone through more of a similar set of experiences in life than maybe some of the white students, if someone's trying to do that, the people at the school the students are generally smart enough, even if they were at the lower end of the academic, spectrum in that class, they're generally smart enough to know not to go for the okie doke. That said,
Right.
every time this stuff comes up, I know I'm going to see some idiot person who looks more like me than they look like you on TV saying some bullshit.
And I think
that shit hurts my
go ahead.
feelings because I hate it. It's ridiculous. I don't know what it is. I don't want to blame it on a generational issue or a country of origin or a language barrier or anything like that. It's just some stupidity. And it, not unlike a Candace Owens or a Clarence
Right.
Thomas, both of whom benefited immensely from civil rights efforts and the people who championed civil rights in every facet of our country's history. And so right off the bat, that always bothers me. But the legacy thing is a big deal, These are also children of people who are paying for these buildings that have their name on them and all that stuff. I get it. It can't be easy, but you know what? We don't go to school to learn about how to do easy stuff. No, we're supposed to all be trained from preschool age to get better at thinking through how to deal with easy stuff.
Right.
When we talk about academic excellence, that's one thing. But when I say smart people, I'm not talking about those who have good grades. There are smart people at every echelon of, financial echelon of life, right? I know plenty of smart people who never went to, maybe never finished high school, let alone never went to college. The thing that I think, to your point, certainly don't let them divide and conquer. I think sometimes it becomes difficult to see when the dividing and conquering has happened with enough foresight to be able to defend against it. It's like, it's one thing to defend against a punch with your face. It's another thing to block the punch, right? And
Sure.
That's why I'll say again, the thing that I've said several times. I haven't said it as much lately because I'm trying to chill out, not preach and whatever, lecture anybody, but I don't care if you only made it to the 5th grade. If you're 18 and you want something better for either your children or the children of people who look like you or just children in general, your vote is just as important, is worth just as much as that legacy family's vote.
Sure.
For the people who choose the Supreme Court justices, for the people who choose whether or not you can have just as good of a chance at having not just a chance at going to college, but that the schools in your neighborhood
Right.
can be expected and financially supported enough to be just as good as the schools in the neighborhood on the other side of the tracks. That your chance at getting a home loan or your chance at rebuilding your credit is just as good as anyone else's chances, because redlining is not allowed anymore. That kind of a criminal behavior for the sake of developers or politicians is not as easy to accomplish, because you are not going to fall for the okie doke the way some of our parents and grandparents did, simply because, one, they had no choice, or they were too busy trying to survive.
Yeah. Well, I think that's happening now, though, right, Kev? Like, the
Absolutely.
reality is, when I say
second, like you said, the second they start getting that fear, the only weapon they have is dividing and conquering. They can't fight us all, right?
No. And I think that
the they is not white people. The they is
exactly
the some of them that are, and unfortunately most of them who are in power.
Exactly. It's a matter of who benefits, right? Who benefits from these decisions and et cetera, right? Like, and I want to be clear here, like, because this is a matter of very respectful conversation. I am not speaking for anyone else's community. I speak to my community the exact same way. I'm probably more or less been kicked out of certain spaces in my own community for being more inclusive than people like to see, right? But I know what this is. I was very fortunate or unfortunate to be in a situation in high school where I saw the inner workings of it very, 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 very clearly, right? So I know exactly what's happening. I know what was happening in the music industry. I knew what was happening when the insurance for a black DJ to rent out the same club for as another particular group was like $100,000 more, right? Or completely removed, right? I've seen that with my own eyes. I've been the person to go in and place the bid, then have a friend of mine go in and place the same bid and not be asked to cover insurance. Same audience, same crowd, different result.
Sure.
I know how this works. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, be careful, man. Be extremely, extremely careful, because once those in power feel threatened, you see how they respond. You know what I mean? You see exactly how they respond. And I feel like we all, I mean, I speak for we all. I feel like a lot of people play right into that nonsense, and you see it happening now. Again, like you would just state it, right? 3 decisions this week. No student loan forgiveness, affirmative action, challenged and removed, right? But a person who couldn't truly verify that they were ever requested by any same-sex group to do a website receives, right? Receives justice in a sense.
And it was evidently the factual proof of anything having happened to this lady seems to be completely absent. It just didn't happen, right? And the reason why I think that case is important, other than the fact that it's just messed up, is that you see it happening with like, you know, I'm not out there like looking for a drag story hour, but if you want to do it, have fun. If you want to take your kid because it's a fun time, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you know, the hip hop community's relationship with the especially gay male community has been fraught with issues as long 100%. As every other community, right? Yeah, probably just as bad, if not worse than just about any other community. But now, I like to believe that some of us are at least a little bit more grown up about things. And it's like, I don't have time to worry about most things in my life. I'm not going to worry about what anybody else is really doing. And if they're doing it to those folks, you don't have to think you're part of that community, but guess what? To them, you are, because they're going to do it to you next, right? And so if this is a fight, and I made a fight analogy earlier, I'm going to make a fight analogy again. If you've ever been in a fight or watched a fight or studied a fight, you know how somebody acts when they're scared. And you know how their opponent needs to act when that person is scared in order to win the fight and stop the combat from continuing. You have to keep pushing. You can't mess around, go lead with your chin, start, you know, dancing around, acting a fool, you know, unless you're real good, and we're not that good. We're not that good yet. So you need to just make sure you stay on guard, make sure you throw that punch, and make sure you follow it up with an even stronger punch. And when I say punch, I mean vote. Don't vote once in a while. Vote every time. Vote every time, because it's happening. It's not happening. It's not just the president. It's not just the Senate. It's not just the House of Representatives. It's not just the Supreme Court. It's your damn school board, man. It's your sheriff who wants to go and be the biggest gang in the county.
Right.
You know,
and
yeah.
Keep in mind, your local government, I feel like Donald Trump ran with a vendetta, right? He ran with a vendetta, right? It's very much like your local government, and your local government, the people that are normally running. When I always kind of laugh because it's always like a real estate agent on the ballot. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it's hilarious to me. But usually people who run for local government run with an axe to grind, right? The park near their home is gross and I got to fix it. So their mindset is on it, which is fine, but their mindset is in a very specific place. And then all these other duties and ideals come together and just do me a favor. Just check the pulse of your city. The pulse of my city is very obvious. The pulse of where I live, it has grown more and more progressively less progressive. How about that? I mean, mind you, I'm right next to Covina. I'm near San Dimas and Glendora. I'm near places, and I'm Walnut. I'm near places where, there's likely clearly a conservative undertone of things. But just check the pulse, man, because I don't know, man. It ain't gonna be. It's not all roses right now, and there's definitely an agenda that it's important to recognize what the real fight is. Right? You talked about like speaking about how other people live their life. See, that's not the fight. That's an irrelevant fight. You know what I mean? How people decide to live their lives, the type of music they want to listen to, whatever artist, this is affecting the world around. No, it's not the way you think it is. The decisions that are made by your school board and those that are educating your children, those are affecting your lives much harsher. And when people are using a minor or possibly even untrue detail to alter that, it's manipulation.
Yeah.
And as communities, we have to stop falling for it. The hard part is, in my community, there's always been a, house versus field ideology. I think that's left the confines of one particular culture and moved into the collective of us, right? And the idea of being close to massa has to be abolished.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
Listen, because we are a country that, as much as they talk about that border and that damn wall, we are a country that welcomes people from all over the world. Yep. And the only thing that's changed is that the country that the people come from, who happens to think that when they come after people of color, they're going to mistake you for being a white person. That may change from decade to decade. But guess what? They're not, you might not think they're smart, but they ain't that stupid. And the best that you're going to get, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this if it's the first time you're hearing it, the most you're going to get from the ones who are doing evil. Again, not everybody. We would not be here right now if it wasn't for white folks who were progressive back when that wasn't cool and it wasn't just California, and they were doing it in the places where it was hard and deadly to be progressive and to be a human being. But the ones who are not like that, the best you're ever going to get from them is that you're one of the good ones. And that's worse than a participation trophy as far as I'm concerned.
It's the worst thing
for a grown up to get. So stop it. Cut it out and stop thinking that you don't have to fight for me. I don't need that necessarily, but don't fight against me, because then we're fighting.
Right.
And we don't need to be fighting. You
think you gonna win it. But listen to me.
Yeah. And it's funny because this was also, I think we're right around the anniversary of the Zoot Suit riots, which I was not particularly hip to either historically, right?
Oh, man, that's an interesting subject, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. And again, another subject that I wouldn't feel qualified to speak at length on, but, the solidarity that was shown just to survive. and get through that period of time, right? Between Black and Latino people in Los Angeles. Has somehow evolved through the years in ways that maybe aren't the most beneficial for the two communities. But looking back at the history, it's like, that's what we need to be doing, right?
Yeah.
At least to acknowledge that this is how we got through that. And still, you know, we got to a point where Black folks and Korean folks were not doing well together during the period after the riots, right? And then community members worked together to try and figure out, well, what, you know, one, how can we heal some of these wounds, but also learn from each other.
Yep.
But then you start forgetting about those things, right? But these things have happened in every state, in every city around this country throughout history. And we don't study those things. And unfortunately, some of the historians who are telling those stories, one, they're passing on, but also the lessons that they've laid out for us are being banned in schools. I don't understand how the word anti-racist is an offensive word. Because the opposite of anti-racist is racist.
It's racist. It's not that hard.
So if you don't want to be called racist and you don't want to use the word anti-racist, I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
The reality is this country's a lot of things, and racist is one of them.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to acknowledge it, and we want to keep overlooking it and saying, like, oh, it's not like that, and you're just being sensitive, and da-da-da. No, man, this country's racist. Like, bottom line. And we're all infected by it. And to some degree or another, we've all been infected by this. In other situations, it would be class or caste system, right? But right now, that system is divided by color of skin, and that's the way it is. But look, I've gone through different stages with this. I've definitely noticed how it all went down, and how we had riots in my school, in my high school. I'm going, of course, this is years ago. I saw the whole thing play out. I saw how it was provoked. You know what I mean? I would say in some cases it was promoted by the school in a weird way, right? But I'm just saying, don't play this game with them. I mean, just watch. Just watch the results of this. You know what I mean? And who benefits? Who truly benefits from this? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the question I have. And if you don't believe that particularly held back and disparaged communities need affirmative action, then I need you to look at how those communities historically have been educated.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, because we're talking about the next generation of young Black people, young Latino people, young Asian people, young white people, women, gay, straight, whoever, young people across the board having an equitable chance at earning an education, right?
Right.
A higher education, a chance at that. They're not all going to want to do it. They might not they might not want to take that life path, but we want them to have a chance at that. But it's not just for them to become, hopefully they can become the next president. Hopefully they can become astronauts and physicists and CEOs and have the top spot in all these realms. Mm-hmm. We also want some of them to be teachers who know how to talk and interact with people who don't look like them. It doesn't matter whether they're white or Asian or Black or Latino or gay or straight or female, male, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But if you can't interact with a diverse cross-section of humanity, in an elementary school, those elementary students are not going to be able to interact with a diverse cross-section of people in middle school. And then it just goes on, right?
Look, dude.
They, kids who go through that become parents who act like that. You know what I mean? And I don't think, I certainly don't want that. I know, unfortunately, it does seem like some people do want that. And I think they're, as much as they're winning the battle, I don't think they're going through their days without fear. I don't think they feel they're guaranteed to win the war. That's why they spend a lot of money. They get high-powered attorneys to create fan fiction stories to bring legal cases to the highest court in the land. The same group, I believe, generated the genesis for the affirmative action case that had no Asian students, Asian witnesses arguing on their behalf. There's the same group that brought the website case, for which the supposed complainant was not a gay man, but a straight dude who didn't even know he was part of the whole thing.
Right.
I don't know how much of that is entirely accurate, but because it sounds almost too bananas to have even gotten as far as it did, but sure as hell seems like it is. And you know
all
what?
True.
That's the thing. They ain't gonna fight fair. When someone's scared, they don't fight fair. You know that. We all know that.
We all know it. Here's the funny thing. Not only did Edward Blum present a fan fiction argument, but he actually stole his organization name and slogan from an Asian education organization.
Yeah.
That was advocating not to remove affirmative action, but to understand why Asian enrollment was so low considering. Right? He stole that whole, it's crazy. He stole the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He stole the entire thing. And he couldn't come up with any real plaintiffs. He couldn't come up with anything. So, I don't even know, man.
I'm not a marketing expert, but I know something about marketing. These people are not genius attorneys. They are not genius politicians. They are not geniuses by any stretch of the imagination, but they are damn good at marketing.
Yeah.
And they can spot a mark from a mile away. Don't be the mark. I'm just talking to people of color right now, people from underrepresented communities. Don't be the mark.
Yeah.
Because that's all you are. That woman,
you are.
the website woman, she ain't going to have a business in 2 years. Are you kidding me? She ain't going to be able to tell nobody that she doesn't want to do their website. She ain't going to be doing that no more. But nobody's going to care. I'm sure people on Twitter will go back in a couple years when she goes out of business and dunk on her, and they'll be happy for about 5 minutes, but that's it. But the damage has been done.
Man.
The damage has been done. And it's not just, a couple of gay dudes who wanted to get married and have a website to tell people what church to go to and where the reception was going to be. It very well could be you or me or our children for no other good reason,
It will be. And that's the thing. 1987. A group was founded called the Student Coalition for Fair Admissions. 2014, Edward Blum created his organization. He called it the Students for Fair Admissions. Student Coalition for Fair Admissions is the first one. His is called the Students for Fair Admissions, or SFA. He completely co-opted their movement.
Mm-hmm.
An Asian-founded coalition for fair admissions, under the understanding that at the time, Asian admissions were being suppressed. It was a fact. They were able to prove and verify their information, and it did not have anything to do with affirmative action, right? A friend of mine, and I had a debate with a friend of mine, right? Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine had discussed something. He was saying, equity over equality. That was his big thing, right? I don't care if you like me or whatever, right? And I thought, well, yeah, in a perfect world, yeah. But the reality is, if a person making a decision doesn't see you as an equal, then there is no equity.
Right.
You still have to deal with the mentality. You can't avoid the mentality. This is what America is trying to do in conversations about race. We're trying to avoid what is happening in someone's mind when they see or hear you, or see or hear your grievances. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is no equity without equality. It's not possible. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I can't express this enough. There are no equitable women's rights. For example, let's take both of us out of this, right? And put us on the other side. There's no chance of equitable women's rights if men still see women as lesser and just complaining, right? Mm-hmm. It's not possible. It's not so much that men are the only ones in position of power. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that men in positions of power have to see you as an equal. That's across the board. That's whether it's white government officials, black government officials. That's whether it's Asians towards blacks, blacks towards Asians, Latinos towards it doesn't matter. If someone doesn't see you as an equal and they're in a position to make a decision, whether that's a vote or a hiring decision or a loan decision or a admissions decision, if they do not see you as an equal, there is no equity.
There it is.
So we can't get to one space without getting to the other. You know what I'm saying? So don't let them use you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what community we're talking about.
Unless you're really just trying. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Kevin. It doesn't matter what community you stand in right now. It doesn't matter what argument you had with someone in 8th grade or whether you disagree or right, whether you felt you were mistreated. I'm saying collectively, you were not viewed as equal. Trust me. I hear it. I know what I'm talking about here. I'm in executive positions. I know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
So if you want to play a game, bro, you're not playing a game that's going to support you in the long run, because when it's your turn, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to chill because once I get started, man, we got another hour.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Unless all you truly want is to be one of the good ones, then you keep doing what you're doing. Otherwise, shut the hell up and stop. Like, if you've ever found yourself saying, well, we did it, so why can't they do it? You can ask that question, but I've never heard that question asked in a constructive tone of voice. That question is always asked in a 100% unmistakably judgmental voice. If you want to ask that question and then figure out the answer to that question, you will learn why that may be the case.
That is a question you ask when you already hate the people you're talking about. That's the problem. Stop playing. Stop playing. You know what I mean? You ask those type of questions when you already hate the people you're talking about. Because you don't, like Kev just said, you don't want to really know the answer. You're not even going to accept the real answer. You ask that question because you already have a negative feeling towards the people you're asking about. Stop playing. I was having a conversation with somebody. We can wrap this up in a moment. My daughter is calling me multiple times for some reason. I was having a conversation with somebody, right? They're going on and on about this, that, and the other, you know, LeBron James and how they don't like blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, man, this is easy. Just say you hate black people. It's way easier, man. Like, you going around all just say, look, I really don't like black people, and I'm trying to find all the reasons to safely say it. And the person, of course, got offended, but I was like, yo, I don't know why you offended. I just made this easy for you. Look me in the face and tell me you don't like black people. That's the same thing I would say to somebody who says we did it, so why can't they do it? Look, dude, just look me in the face and tell me you don't like black people. Don't do this. Don't try to statistically validate your hate.
Yeah. And if you, especially if they're talking to a black person, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, if someone was talking some bullshit to me, I'd be like, I've heard every version of the bullshit translated. Google Translate has nothing on me being able to figure out what it is that you're really saying. No matter what language you use, no matter what tone of voice, I know what you're saying. So I'm boiling it down to, oh, you just hate me for being me.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
Bottom
I
line.
can't help you. You know?
Right.
But yeah, all the...
Yeah, it gets old,
Listen,
man.
This country is based on, let's say every year we had a 100-yard dash. But one group of people starts at the 50-yard line. Every year they start at the 50-yard line. And surprisingly, they tend to win. And the people who had to start where you're supposed to start, generally speaking, did not win.
Yeah.
There were a few of the people who started at the 50-yard line who said, you know what? I don't feel right about this because it's bullshit. So I'm going to wait to start running until those people reach the 50-yard line. Then I'm going to start running. Well, guess what? They're already halfway tired by the time you start running. So it's still not fair. So you can still shut up. I appreciate it. But no, that's not okay. And then there's this other group of people that just joined the race about 400 years in. And they're saying, well, you know what? We really know how to pace ourselves. So even though they're starting from 50 and we're starting from 0, you know, we're going to plan for that. And we know they're going to wait. So we're going to catch up. And then we're going to edge them out a little bit. A little bit better. A little bit more than the people in the past did.
Yep.
It's still not fair. Any kid could tell you that. A child could tell you that that's ridiculous. But you can't allow yourself to see how ridiculous it is as a grown-ass adult. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Because the more you let them do that, the more they're going to keep doing it, not just to you, but other people. And they're going to make you feel like it's okay because now it's not happening to you.
Yeah. That's how it is. All right, we spent the whole show on this, so we'll get to some topics next week. Oh, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. A very special episode of Rap Sucks Radio. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. If you'd like to catch past episodes of Rap Sucks Radio, you can go to rapsucksradio.com, any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Catch us on Rap Sucks Radio on Instagram, RSR Podcast on Facebook. And, yo, we out of here like last year, Kev. On the count of 3, we say peace, man. 1, 2, 3.
Peace.
We out.
Vote, you dummies.
Man. All right, y'all.